O God, you are my God. Early will I seek you. My soul thirsts for you. My flesh longs for you in a dry and thirsty land where there is no water. This is Psalm 63. David is writing this as he's in the wilderness of Judah. He's literally in a place where there is no water, a dry and thirsty land. And his opening statement is, O God, you are my God. Early will I seek you. My soul thirsts for you. My flesh longs for you. So in a dry and thirsty land where there is no water, his soul and his flesh is thirsting and longing for God. That hunger and that thirst for the presence and the comfort of the Lord is something that I want more of in my life, and it's something that as Christian men, so many of us are held back because we refuse to wait in the desert for God's provision. And I want to explain exactly what I mean. The desert is a place, this is kind of a Captain Obvious statement, right? But the desert is a place where you don't have normal access to the resources and the comforts that you're used to, right? It's a desolate, weary, abandoned sort of place. And in the desert, God will invite you to the next level of growth and the next level of intimacy with Him. You have to get outside more, because when you're outside, you can see agriculture, you can see animals, you can see nature, and so much of how the scripture is written uses these things to make the point. When the Israelites were just out of Egypt and they're heading toward the promised land, Moses is leading them to the promised land. You guys can read about this in Numbers, I believe. Could be Exodus. As they're heading to the promised land, they run into different challenges, different issues, and God helps them through, and they're making it through, and then they get to the promised land, and yeah, this is Numbers 13 and 14. They get to the promised land, and they send out spies. So they've been in the wilderness. They've been in a desolate wilderness, like David was when he wrote that psalm. But then they get to the edge of the promised land, and they send in spies. And the spies go in, and it lists the names of all the spies. The most important ones here for us are Joshua and Caleb. So the spies go into the promised land. They look around, and they see, this really is the promised land. We're taking samples. We're looking around. This land is fertile. It's abundant with resources. It's great. It's literally what he said it would be. It's amazing. But they also notice the descendants of Anak, which, not to get too much into this, but they're giants. They're act like Goliath type people, right? So they see these huge people. They see these fortified cities, and they're like, that's going to be tough. That's going to be a real issue, right? So the spies head back, and they give the report to the people. And the people are like, this is crazy. So I'm going to read a little bit to y'all from this. Mind you, all these people had been freed from Egypt, okay? All these people had been freed from Egypt, which means they saw Moses show up. Moses said, hey, we're out of here. And they're like, yeah, right. Like, how are we just going to leave? And he said, God's going to bring plagues. God did bring plagues. God brought these crazy plagues, right? He turned water into blood. He brought frogs. He infected people with boils. He destroyed the firstborn of the Egyptian households, right? Those not covered by the blood, which was a symbol of Christ, right? So these people had seen all that. Then they'd left Egypt, and I'm skipping stuff too, you guys already know, but they left Egypt, and then the Lord parted the Red Sea for them to cross. Okay, so mind you, these people have seen all those miracles. They've seen all those miracles. And they're waiting at the edge of the promised land, the land that the Lord told them they could take possession of at the burning bush with Moses, right? And so the spies are like, yeah, it really is legit. It is the promised land flowing with milk and honey, but there do be some giants there. There's some fortified cities. We're going to have a hard time with that. But Joshua and Caleb were like, I think we can do this. So when the children of Israel, the Israelites, heard all of this, they started complaining, and they started saying stuff like this. This is in 14:2. If only we had died in the land of Egypt, or if only we had died in this wilderness. Why has the Lord brought us to this land to fall by the sword so that our wives and children should become victims? Would it not be better for us to return to Egypt? So they're like, oh, there's people there that are going to be hard to beat in battle. Might as well just died in the wilderness. Might as well have just died in Egypt, where they were enslaved. It's kind of a weak constitution. Then they started talking together and they said, hey, let us select a leader and return back to Egypt. So screw you, Moses and Aaron. We're going to take a vote and pick somebody to lead us back to slavery. That's how afraid they were. That's how afraid they were. And then Moses and Aaron, that completely wrecks them. Joshua and Caleb pipe up. And they said, guys, the land we passed through to spy out is an exceedingly good land. If the Lord delights in us, then he will bring us into this land and give it to us, a land which flows with milk and honey. Only do not rebel against the Lord, nor fear the people of the land, for they are our bread. We're going to eat them. We're going to eat them, he said. Their protection has departed from them, and the Lord is with us. Do not fear them. Now, it's understandable, guys. I know that the spies, and I agree, the spies are saying it's going to be really hard. And it will. But the land is as the Lord promised it would be. He never said there wouldn't be any trouble. But the land is as he promised it would be. And if God is with us, we're going to eat their lunch. I mean, literally, he said, they will be our bread, right? We can do this. God is on our side. Let's go. What do y'all think the Israelites did? They wanted to stone them. They wanted to pelt them with stones until they died, because they dared have the positivity to believe that the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who had brought them out of Egypt, out of slavery, across the dry land, through the Red Sea, it was beyond them that same God could help them overcome fierce enemies in battle, right? And, hindsight that we have, we're like, yeah, it's kind of stupid to think. Why? For those of y'all who stayed with me, I'm proud of you, because this is all going somewhere, right? You have to be able to press into the unknown. Okay? You have to. You have to. If you want to grow, like a lot of y'all say you want to be him, you want to grow, you want to pursue greatness and be great. But you're on the edge of the promised land and you hear about the dangers and then you want to turn back. And then the two brain cells in your head that are like, no, we can do this, you kill them. Just like the Israelites tried to stone Joshua and Caleb, they're trying to snuff out that hope. They're trying to snuff out that positivity. Because if that positivity gets loud enough, they might actually have to face their fears. Ooh, how about that? A lot of y'all nuke your own hope, because if the hope got too loud, you would have to face your own fears and do what you're afraid of. Guys, the desert is a place where you have the opportunity to step into the unknown and stay there until the Lord provides. David knew it. He said, "O God, you are my God. Early will I seek you. My soul thirsts for you. My flesh longs for you in a dry and weary land where there is no water." It's dry as a bone all around him, not a drop to drink. And he doesn't seek water, he seeks the Lord, because he knows the Lord is the beginning and end, the Alpha and Omega. He's got it all. He can take care of you. The Israelites, on the other hand, they're complaining the whole way through. They see God at work and don't think he can cut it. And they say, "Hey, take us back. Take us back to Egypt. Take us back to slavery." And so many of you watching this, and me too, we will get to the edge of the promised land. And it's not like that we've ever been there. It's not that we know what it is. We just conceptually know. We've dreamed about it. We've envisioned it. We've read about it. We've seen other people go there. We've heard about it from them. Whatever it is, whether it's leveling up, whether it's letting go of lust, letting go of the dirty websites, it's getting a better physique, a new PR, it's growing your business, it's approaching a girl, whatever it is, getting better somehow, right? There's gonna be adversity no matter what you pick. If you're trying to grow, there's gonna be adversity. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna suck. And you're not going to know how you're going to make it. If you always know how you're going to make it, then you're living a mediocre life. You're not reaching your potential. And I'm not here to compare you to anybody else. I'm here to compare you to the man that God intended for you to be when he made you. Because let's be real. You, me, all of us, none of us are living up fully to that man. Now, where I will judge you is if you're not even trying, is if you're stuck, if you won't make a move because you're afraid of the desert. The desert sucks. The desert is scary. But the desert is where you get to trust God. See, a lot of us, we're just like the Israelites. We want to go back to slavery. Why do you want to keep going back to your dirty websites and your masturbation? And why do you want to keep going back to your alcohol and your nicotine addiction? And why do you want to keep going back to doom scrolling when you know what you should be doing, right? Why do you go back to those things that enslave you? It's because you're unwilling to go into the desert. You're unwilling to stay in the desert. And then when you're at the edge of the promised land, you're unwilling to step into that unknown place. Even though you can see, oh yeah, it would be so great to get rid of this vice. It would be so great to level up. It would be so great to stop rotting the brain out of my ears with this dopamine addiction to my screens. That would be so great. I know it would be. Everybody says it would be. Maybe I've even tasted it before. But I'm going to go back to Egypt. And any sense of hope, I'm going to completely crap on. Because deep down inside, I know if I take the hand that's being offered to me to help me, if I take this person's advice, if I take their encouragement, if I get this person's help, then I might actually have to face my fears. I might actually have to leave Egypt behind. Here's the trick, guys. The trick with the desert is God will not come to meet you and provide for you fully. You will not level up fully in the way that he wants you to until you've gotten far enough away from Egypt for a long enough time to where you can't go back. If you still have one foot in Egypt attached to that slavery and those creature comforts that you're used to, yeah, we were enslaved in Egypt, but hey, at least there was 3 square meals a day. At least people weren't actively trying to kill us. There weren't these massive beasts trying to take us out. Yeah, it was slavery, but it was predictable. It was comfortable for them. That's all they had known. So why don't we take up a vote and go back? We laugh at them now, but we make that same decision all the time. We make progress, and then it's like, oh, it's getting scary, it's getting uncomfortable. I'm in new territory, or maybe I'm in the desert, I'm on the edge of the promised land, but I haven't had the normal taste of water that I'm used to. And God says he has water for me here somewhere, but I ain't seen it yet. Where is it? I've been waiting, and I'm really thirsty. I think I'm going to go back to Egypt, because the water there was crap, but it was water, right? I'm going to go back to Egypt. We all do this, guys. We all do this. And so you know what the Lord did? The Lord said, hey, well, I guess since you dumb ingrates, I'm paraphrasing, right? Okay. He said, how long will these people reject me, and how long will they not believe me with all the signs I performed among them? I was pretty close. I will strike them with the pestilence and disinherit them, and I will make another nation of you greater and mightier than they. So God says, and God doesn't really, he's not actually planning to do this, but he's kind of having this conversation with Moses so that, Moses can really see what's going on, and there can be a lesson here, right? Because God literally said, I've done so much. How can they not believe me, right? For some reason, in the moment, when you're confronted with that fear, the memory of all God has done for you kind of goes out the door. And all you can do is focus on the fear. It's just like Peter on the water, right? When he was in the boat, he had enormous faith. He said, oh, Jesus is walking on the water? Let me do it too. Easy. Because Jesus, he'd been doing miracles, raising people from the dead, healing people. Just people just touching his cloak and they get healed, right? His robe, whatever, tunic. And Peter has this massive faith, and Jesus is like, all right, come on out. So Peter comes on out, big faith. But then when the fear comes, he starts looking at the waves, he starts sinking because his faith sinks right along with him, right? It's easy to lose that faith in the face of fear. But hey, sucks to suck. God's like, hey, this is still inexcusable. And Moses kind of brings up a good point. He said, listen, if you kill all these Israelites and disown them, then the Egyptians are going to get word, and they're going to be like, oh, guess God's not really all he says he is. Guess God's not always, really that cool, because he let him wither away. Guess he couldn't bring the people to the promised land. And so, I'm not going to read the rest of the story verbatim, but what does he do? Well, he does kill some of them, the ones that were particularly rebellious. God kills them straight up. And then he said, all right, cool. Well, y'all are all dead right now, you rebels. And then the rest of you, we're going to do laps in the desert for 40 years until the rest of y'all are dead too. Anybody that wasn't conscious adult, you guys can go to the promised land. But anybody who was drinking age, legal age, you guys are going to die in the wilderness because you didn't have faith. Tough, right? Better than killing them all for sure, but still tough. And that's where a lot of us are at, right? We got to the edge of the promised land and we said, nah, never mind. I'm not going in. I'm afraid. I'm going to make up these reasons and excuses. I don't trust God enough. And then we've been doing laps in the wilderness. Get kind of close to the promised land. No, ain't going in. Oh, getting kind of close to Egypt. Maybe some of us even, stop by, have a nice relapse, get back in touch with our slavery. And then we cycle back out of it. And we're like, no, I'm going to head back toward the promised land. And we're doing laps and we're wasting, sometimes some of us are going to waste 40 years. I mean, statistically, some of y'all watching this are going to do the same lap for 40 years. It's very sobering, but it's true. I wish I mean, it'd be nice for me not to say that, but I talk to guys who are, over 4 decades old, who are just taking laps. And that's all they've been doing their whole life. They've been taking laps. Because they don't want to go into the fear. They don't have enough faith that God will be with them in the places they want to go. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. As a matter of fact, I guarantee you it'll be hard. But unless you can go into the desert and completely let go of any chance of returning to Egypt and press on full of faith and confidence that you will make it to the promised land and that God will help you, you'll never make it. Some of y'all need to leave Egypt for good and step into the desert and set your eyes on the promised land and walk and walk and walk. And then when it looks the bleakest, when it's the worst that you could imagine, keep walking. And it's going to get worse. And then in that moment, when it's got as worse as it can get, and then you keep walking and then it gets even worse, then you look to God and you said, God, you are my God. I'm seeking you early and earnestly. My soul is thirsting for you. My flesh is longing for you. And he will meet you there in the desert. For the Boys, episode 12. Like, subscribe. Appreciate y'all. See you next time.